It was one of my first luxury purchases secondhand. And I was astonished. I was like, oh, $220. And it's real, y'all. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For those who don't know me, my name is Alyssa, aka Always Alyssa J, and today we're going to be talking about the best websites to purchase pre-loved handbags. If you've been following me for a while, then you know a lot of the handbags that I have are in fact pre-loved. I have purchased them from an assortment of different sites and consigners, but I wanted to highlight these 5 websites in particular because I believe these sites have the best pricing, the best quality handbags, and some of the better authentication systems. Because ultimately, I think that's what people care about the most, just making sure that your handbags are actually real. First up, we have Fashionphile. I really enjoy Fashionphile. I love doing price comparisons on Fashionphile, just digging through. They have such a massive catalog of handbags, and not just handbags, but they also have shoes, wallets, belts, jewelry. Like, there's no way you can't go on that website and not find something that you absolutely love. I personally believe that their pricing is fair. When I am looking for a handbag, I do price comparisons with some of the other sites that I am going to mention. I will say over the past 2 years, with the rise in popularity in secondhand luxury and pre-loved handbags, I do think they jack their prices up just a little bit, but not anything too crazy. When it comes to their listings, I think they're very detailed and very accurate about what you're going to be getting. They will show, for the most part, every scuff and scratch, and if they don't show it, they're going to mention it in the description. They'll tell you the year that the bag is from. A lot of the times when I'm preparing my YouTube videos, or even just kind of trying to find information on my own bags that I have, I will go to their website. I also think they make it easy to put together a wish list. I know for me, that's how I keep track of my wish list, is literally the Fashionphile site, if not Pinterest. Fashionphile is like my own personal Pinterest board when I'm just kind of looking for a new bag to buy or looking for a very specific bag. Even if it's something that's super vintage, 80% of the time, they're going to have what you're looking for. Now, when it comes to their return policy, because it's very possible that you can receive something that you just don't like, you have 15 days or pretty much 2 weeks to return the bag in the initial condition with the tags, and they will issue you a full refund. Also, if down the line, maybe a year or 2, you want to sell the bag back to them, I don't know if they still do this, but from what I remember, they will give you up to 75% back on that bag, pending it's still in pretty decent condition. If you give it back busted, they're gonna be like, girl, what is this? But overall, I know that Fashionphile is a pick for many, and I think a part of it is because of their authentication. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and say and swear up and down that they have never sold anything that is not authentic, but from what I've seen, they've put out countless YouTube videos, short form content of their authenticators with white gloves combing through these bags to make sure that they are 100% authentic, which made me feel a lot more secure. So if you are looking for a pre-loved bag, Fashionphile is definitely one of the first places that I would start with. The next place that I would personally recommend is Rebag. Rebag is very similar to Fashionphile. They're going to sell bags, wallets, jewelry, watches, and other accessories. So they have a vast variety of items. Based on what I've seen between the 2 websites, Rebag definitely has better pricing. I'm someone who used to be a part of handbag TikTok. I'm not as much anymore because I talk more about fragrance these days. But when I was, I've had mutuals who'd be like, hey, I just saw a Kelly on the Rebag website for like $6K. And it's just like, in what world? Now, granted, these bags are a lot older. They're not Kelly 25s, the most desirable of desirable. They're not in pristine condition. But even so, I got my 1999 Kelly for almost $7,000. What do you mean? 5 or 6K. So every so often, especially on the weekends, you might see a couple of drops of very high-end luxury bags. And I know $4,000 or $5,000 isn't necessarily a decent price, but when you're looking at the scope of what the bag should cost, it's a decent price. They also sell on Poshmark as well. I've personally never negotiated with Rebag on Poshmark. I don't even know if you can, but they also sell there. I need y'all to see this real quick. This is an Hermes Kelly handbag, Vert, Bengali, in Epsom leather with gold hardware. It's a 40. This is $8,000. Are you kidding me? Told you I wasn't kidding. Now, of course, that's a little bit more, but still, that color is insane. If I had 8K, I'd buy that right now. It's beautiful. Like Fashionphile, they have a very solid authentication system. And when it comes to their return policy, in comparison to Fashionphile, it's 7 days for a full refund versus 14, which 7 days is quick. People be on vacation, out the country, they be busy, they got things to do. But I guess the pricing, the better pricing kind of offsets. I don't know, but that's quick. Now, the next site that I want to highlight for pre-loved luxury, and y'all might look at me crazy, is eBay. Now, I know you're like, girl, eBay? eBay has changed when it comes to luxury. A couple years ago, I noticed that they started authenticating certain things, or they would authenticate certain consigners that were selling on eBay. Now, every listing will have a check mark as to whether or not it's authenticated. And usually the way it works now is, instead of trying to authenticate through photos, which I know some websites do, and I'll get to that in a little bit, what they'll do is they'll say, hey, this person is willing to have this authenticated. You buy this, before it gets to you, it's going to come to us. We're going to look at it. And once we authenticate it, we're going to send it to you. I mean, how is that not amazing? And it's interesting because Poshmark actually adopted something like that a couple of years ago, where anything, I want to say over $500, you can send it over. If it's luxury, you could send it over to the HQ. They'll authenticate it and then they'll send it to you. So it's really great that eBay has adopted that. I recently spoke to a friend who said that they got something from eBay and they had their bag authenticated. And it was in fact real. However, the authenticators also pointed out, like, hey, this has a lot more scratches than what the consignor initially told you. Is that okay with you, or do you want us to send it back and you get your money back? Now, she took the bag. She was totally fine with it, but the fact that they were willing to do that is amazing. So don't sleep on eBay, especially because a lot of these vintage stores, and it's a little bit of a secret, a lot of these consigners and stores, especially in New York City, oh my gosh, vintage in New York City is so expensive. I just went to the Manhattan Vintage Show. I walked away with nothing because everything was overpriced, but I digress. A lot of people source their bags from Japan, and a lot of those bags that they find are sometimes on eBay. I've seen some of these same bags at Manhattan Vintage, and I'm like, oh, I've seen something like that on eBay before, and they'll jack up the price a couple $100s just so that they can make some coin. I ain't mad at it. I ain't knocking the hustle. I thought about doing the same thing myself, opening up my own little consignment shop, but I just like to enjoy handbags, so I decided not to. But a lot of people source on eBay. So if you're not looking to go through a consignor or a third party, I don't mind going through a consignor because sometimes you just don't feel like combing the internet. You don't feel like searching for things. You just like to go to the store, see whatever they curated and buy. And that's okay. But if you go on eBay and you just sit there, get some coffee, get some tea, get a snack, and you just comb through, you will be surprised about the gems that you will find and for the prices that you will find them at. With the level of authentication that you're going to get, again, you just need to make sure that check mark is there. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Now, one of the places that I've gotten most of my luxury bags from, and that's actually where I met two consigners from my area. They literally live 20 minutes from me, that I just kind of started going through them and stopped going through the app, is called Shop Shops. I've mentioned Shop Shops. If you've been following me for a while, I've mentioned that app a number of times. It's almost like QVC from your phone. Essentially what happens is you have people all around the world, right? So you'll have people in New York City, maybe Houston, California, London, Shanghai, right? Literally all over the world. And they'll be streaming simultaneously. And you can pick whatever live that you want to go in. The app is free, by the way. You pick whatever live that you want to go in, and you go into their live and they're showing you all these different handbags. If you've been on TikTok, you've kind of seen it. It operates the same way as those lives. But this app was the first time I had ever seen that. I want to say I got on this app in 2021, and you pick whatever live you want to go in, and they'll be showing you all of these handbags. Sometimes it's jewelry, sometimes it's perfume. The perfume is never pre-loved. Any of the cosmetics that they sell on there are never pre-loved because you can't do that. Sometimes they'll go into luxury discount stores like a Nordstrom Rack, and they'll show you everything, and then there'll be a cart at the bottom. You can scroll through the cart, see the things that you like, and you can actually type, right? And say, hey, can I see this bag? And the person will show you the bag, the inside, the outside, so you can see all of the wear and the tear, if there is any, and they'll tell you the price. Sometimes, many times actually, they will give you discounts. So let's say something's $1,000. You're like, can I have it for $900? Maybe they might come back at $920. You got a discount. If you're worried about authentication, I will say that Shops does a really good job of authenticating any vendor that comes on the app, but also you can pay for entropy. It's like a $20 or $30 fee, especially if it's a bag that's very expensive. And entropy is one of the more trusted authentication systems that exist within the luxury world. It is not a certified perfect tool, but I want to say it has like a 98% success rate. So nothing to really worry about there. I've actually purchased a Birkin, my orange Birkin 35 on that app, and trust me, I purchased authentication with it. Actually, I didn't have to pay for it. I think after a certain amount of money you spend, you don't even have to pay for it, or it might just come with the bag in general. So there is authentication in place, both at the high level of you have to be an authentic seller to be on the site, and you can purchase entropy with your bag to ensure that it is indeed real. Now, when it comes to delivery, that's going to vary depending on where your bag is coming from. My bag was coming from Asia, so it took a minute, but I think it was still only took like 2 weeks, if even that, to get here. If it's something that you're purchasing within the United States, it'll be even quicker than that. From a payment standpoint, you kind of put your card info in the app. It's protected. I've never had any issues. I've been on that app for like 5 years now. And once you check out, that's it. And they offer coupons in the app as well, maybe for $100, $200, it depends. So there's always a way to save a little money, whether you're using a coupon or you're in the live and you're talking to the person and negotiating with them right then and there. Something that is definitely worth trying and something that I swear by. Obviously, nothing is perfect. So if you use the app and things don't work out well, or you didn't get something that was quite good, don't come to me talking about Alyssa said nothing is perfect. But in the experience that I've had with that app and the places that I've shopped and the sellers that I've purchased from, I haven't had any issues. Last but not least, I want to talk about Grailed. Now, if you haven't heard of Grailed, Grailed was more of a hypebeast hip hop culture kind of website, like sneakerhead culture kind of website where you can buy like the Supremes of the world. But I had found that you could also buy luxury handbags. Now, the bags that I've purchased on that site in particular were not the most expensive. We're talking about things under like $500. Because the truth of the matter is, while they do have an authentication system in place, it's not as solid as the other sites that I mentioned. So when it comes to authentication, this is one of those sites where they have authenticators look at the photos that you submit and then will authenticate based on that. And with authentication, there will also be a check mark there that says this is authenticated, has been authenticated by one of our top tier authenticators, blah, blah, blah. But I've gotten like a small Fendi logo tote for like $220. on that site. It was one of my first luxury purchases secondhand, honestly and truly. And I was astonished. I was like, oh, $220. And it's real, y'all. And you would be surprised about some of the gems that you will find on that site. So perhaps not spending too much money on that website, because again, there's authentication in place. But if you can't touch it for yourself, that's a little hard. That's a little tough. Not to say you can't authenticate with photos, but there is a difference in being able to touch the bag and look at it in person. But I did still want to include it because I personally had a great experience. The photos of the bag that I got, just as described, no additional scuffs and bumps. It was actually in better condition than what I thought it would be in. And obviously the pricing, easy. Now, the pricing that I've seen for some of the other items on the site, very fair, nothing crazy. And the bag came fairly quickly as well. So from a shipping standpoint, you're not dealing with anything that's going to take forever, because they do tell the person who is selling the item, like, hey, you have X amount of time to ship. So the site is on their butt. And the other beauty of this is you can negotiate the price of what you're trying to buy down. You can set a number and send it to the seller. You could also reach out to the seller too if you have any additional questions. Maybe you want to see some additional photos of the bag or the item you're trying to buy, which I think is really great. So just another site to look into if you're looking to buy something that's not going to cost you too much money. But y'all, that's the end of my video, and those are the 5 sites that I would recommend buying pre-loved items from. Now, I'm sure some of you are thinking, well, what about the real? I have a friend who swears up and down by the real. She finds a lot of great clothing items on there. What I can say is, following that scandal where people received items that were not authentic, I was just like, and I know I said scandal, which insinuates this happened one time, but multiple people have come out multiple times saying they've been sold fake bags. And as a result, I just don't want to risk it. Granted, things fall through the cracks all the time. Like, it's easy to miss something. And I know that they have like their whole, I don't want to say warehouse, but I know that they have a flagship in New York City and they have people routinely checking. But when you have that many people who come out and say that, and there's other options available, it's just like, I'm going to take my chances elsewhere. So that's why I didn't bring up the real. And I'm not saying don't shop the real, but just maybe be cautious and maybe don't buy things that are super duper expensive on that site. But y'all, let me know what you think of these sites. If there are any sites that you think I should add to this list, let me know in the comments. Let me know your experiences with some of these websites as well. And if you like what we talked about today, handbags, luxury, and if you also like perfume and plus size fashion, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye!